Beep, 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 beep. More from the court of the EDI Jester. What can I tell you? It just keeps coming, keeps coming, flowing out of the news bum. So what have I got for you now? I've got a great article from Alan Neil, which is over at the 11thhourblog.com. You'll see again in the Dubras. All right, okay, the blog. Become a warrior teacher. Buy me a thing. Do something. Share it though. Subscribe. So here we go. Right, the 11th Hour blog. You can. Did I tell you can do a thing on YouTube now where you can send me a... Yes, you can send me a thanks like they do on KJK when she does her talks on a Tuesday. Turf Tuesday. So here we go, the 11th Hour blog on debanking, the latest weapon in the corporate bid to normalise gender ideology. This follows on from other videos that I've done about this issue of banks seeming to think that they can take carte blanche with giving people or not giving people a bank account. I think a bank account is a human right. Looking at how our society is today, I think a bank account is a human right. I also think cash is a human right, and we should have that enshrined in law. But we don't seem to have a government that's able to deal with all these new difficulties that we find ourselves in a technological world moving at such a pace, which is exciting and scary at the same time. But hey, roller coaster, no merry-go-rounds here. Right. The world's largest financial institution in alliance with Big Pharma. Interesting take there. Something worth exploring yourself to ensure efficacy. What's going on? What's Big Pharma's involvement here? Have embarked on a global campaign to normalise body dissociation and the deconstruction of human sexual reproduction. Two asset management firms, BlackRock and Vanguard, are at the apex of this push. Interesting. There's then a link to an article by Jennifer Billick, has analysed how these two corporations use the leverage of their investment to push the ideology of gender identity. This is an ideology that denies material reality but creates numerous new profit opportunities. Firstly, by constructing artificial identities that segment the market into new and highly profitable sales opportunities. And secondly, by encouraging the body dissociation that enables the commodification of our sex bodies and allows the highly exploitative and profitable surrogacy industry to flourish. BlackRock and Vanguard are based in the USA, but their reach is global. In the UK, they manage 8 to 9% of the shares in 3 of the 4 main high street banks, that being Barclays, Lloyds, and HSBC. They are not passive shareholders. Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, made it clear in his 2022 letter to CEOs that capitalism has the power to shape society and act as a powerful catalyst for change. Prompting gender ideology is one of the ways Fink uses that power. I first came across BlackRock when I was researching Just Like Us, an LGBT plus charity that promotes body dissociation to primary school children in the UK. I was intrigued by the fact that BlackRock was a major corporate supporter of Just Like Us. And surprised to learn not only that BlackRock is a major investor in AbbVie, the supplier of puberty-blocking drug Lupron, but that its CEO, Larry Fink, is co-chair of the trustee of a New York hospital heavily involved in what it calls gender-affirming medical interventions, which is newspeak for chemical and surgical construction of synthetic sex identities for young people and children, sadly. Policy initiatives from asset managers like BlackRock and Vanguard in the US cascade down to retail banks in Europe. Here, recent policy development is debanking, denying opponents of the gender industry access to money transfer services. I myself have experienced this. Doing the right thing, brackets Netherlands 2021, close brackets. Back in November 2021, I learned on Twitter that a bank had closed the account of a Dutch feminist organisation called Voor Zich, or For Her, brackets, close brackets, because activities do not match with what we stand for as a company. The bank called Bunk, which means Bank of the Free, made its position clear in a Twitter thread and press release translated here. So the translation is there for you to have a look at if you'd like to. Including, the bank believes that the foundation, Voor Zich, for women, discriminates against trans women by not standing up for their interests. Men, discriminates against men, not standing up against their interests. Bunk, like many banks, disguises its support for the gender industry by pretending that what it is promoting is social responsibility and human rights. In its 2022 Managing Board report, it claims that our users rely on us to continue enabling them to go, contribute and make life easy. As always, doing the right thing is the one simple compass we've relied on since our very beginning. It is a sign of the times that doing the right thing for a supposedly progressive institution is understood to include an attempt to shut down a feminist organisation in a country where women have only been allowed to have a bank account since 1956. Realising how easy it was for a bank to use its power to take away the financial independence that women had so recently acquired came as a shock. I hoped naively that this was just one challenger bank in one country and that there were many retail banks that don't act in this way. I underestimated the global ambitions of the 10-year-old bunk. It operates not just in the Netherlands but in a number of other EU countries, and this year it has applied for banking licenses in both the US and the UK. I also underestimated the extent to which other banks would adopt similarly exclusionary policies. Next subheading is Doing What's Right, UK 2022-23. In June 2022, the UK's Halifax Bank, a brand of Lloyds Bank, posted a tweet saying simply, "Pronouns matter. Hashtag it's a people thing." With a photo of a name badge, Gemma, she, her, hers. Go away. Go away. A number of people replied, questioning the bank's priorities. From time to time over the course of a day, Halifax employees would issue one or other of the following explanations. The first one being, we want to create a safe and accepting environment that opens the conversation about gender identity. We care about our customers' and colleagues' individual preferences. For us, it's a very simple solution to accidental misgendering. Insanity in the banking system. Or they would post the following. Wearing pronouns is completely optional. We're offering our colleagues the choice because we understand how important it is to create a safe and welcoming environment that normalises the conversation around gender identity. What does the bank think it's doing getting involved in this, cobblers? We'll wait and see, shall we? As the day wore on, more and more customers questioned why the bank was so keen to normalise the conversation around gender identity. Eventually, when a customer simply asked, "Why are you trying to alienate people?" the Halifax response became more hostile. We strive for inclusion, equality, and quite simply in doing what's right. If you disagree with our values, you're welcome to close your account. This is corporatism, writ large. So big they think they can't fail. Corporatism. The arrogance of corporatism. The next day, a tweet from rival bank HSBC weighed in with support. Not for the questioning customers, but for the Halifax. We stand with and support any bank that joins us in taking this positive step forward for equality and inclusion. It is vital that everyone can be themselves in the workplace. Care about customers' individual preferences clearly doesn't extend to customer preference for banking services that allow them not to lie about an employee's sex. Again, as with Bunk in the Netherlands, the fact that they are protecting the interests of the gender industry is disguised by pretending that its policies are based on a concern for human rights. Next subheading, bribery and corruption. It was not long before UK banks moved on from inviting customers to close their accounts if they disliked bank values, to closing customer accounts if the bank disliked the customer values. Except it's not really about values, it's about silencing critics. Bank account closures hit the headlines in June 2023 when ex-UKIP leader and ex-MEP Nigel Farage revealed that his bank accounts had been closed. He acknowledged that he may have been identified as a PEP, a politically exposed person, a high-profile politician deemed to be at risk of bribery or corruption. He suggested, though, that it was possible that his account was closed because banks disliked Brexit and blamed him for it. The number of people that were screaming and hooray when Nigel lost his bank account absolutely shows the crucial intellectual barrenness of them, of not recognising if it happened to him, it can happen to you. It's that smug, I'm all right, Charlie. Farage's bank had initially claimed that the accounts had been closed because it required a minimum balance of 3 million in savings or 1 million in borrowing. and Farage's balance had fallen below it. But Farage obtained a document from Coutts which stated that his views don't align with our values, and suggested that his having an account with them presents a material and ongoing reputational risk to the bank. His publicly stated views were at odds with our position as an inclusive organisation. It became clear that having a balance below the required minimum was not the only reason Farage's accounts were closed. In the wake of the massive publicity that Farage generated about his bank accounts, evidence emerged that banks were closing the accounts of a number of individuals and organisations who are not in Farage's league financially, but are opposed to gender ideology. New heading, silencing critics. One bank account that was abruptly closed without notice was that of Wings Over Scotland. Wings Over Scotland's founder, Stuart Campbell. Wings have consistently exposed the capture by the gender industry of political institutions in Scotland, and Campbell believes that this was the reason for the closure without warning of his personal accounts by First Direct, a division of HSBC. You'll recall during this conversation I mentioned HSBC is one of the four that has a connection with BlackRock, not a tenuous one, a direct one. Similar cases followed in quick succession. The Our Duty support group, who supports parents, that's Keith over there doing a lot of work on the Our Duty group there, that their children have been supports parents where their children have been persuaded to embark on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. Their application for a business account was blocked by Metro Bank a month after the bank joined the Stonewall Diversity Champion Scheme. A bank manager explained that Our Duty website conflicts with the ideas and culture we are pushing. What are they doing pushing it? Yorkshire Building Society closed the account of a vicar, Richard Fothergill, days after he posted a comment on their portal that he disagreed with their promotion of gender ideology and which linked to a news story that was critical of Drag Queen Story Hour. Yorkshire Building Society claimed that their banking relationship with Fothergill had broken down beyond repair as a result of his comment. Professor Leslie Sawyers, the Equalities and Human Rights Commissioner for Scotland, was told by the Royal Bank of Scotland, a brand of the NatWest Group, that her joint bank account with her husband would be closed with no explanation given. When she approached another bank to transfer their joint account, she was told this would not be possible as there was a mark against her name. New heading, investigative reporting optimisation. UK banks are not called upon to justify account closures. If necessary, they could quote their terms and conditions, which allow the closure of an account where the customer has behaved in a threatening or abusive manner to our staff. Presumably, a bank is aiming to become a Stonewall Diversity champion, as so many of them are. They could interpret a customer's unwillingness to use a staff member's preferred pronouns or a statement of disbelief in gender ideology as abusive. Of course they could. They could then quote this to Stonewall as evidence of their inclusivity and be rewarded for it. First Direct and its parent company HSBC have added terms and conditions which give them even more leeway than those of other banks. They justify account closure where you misbehaved either to us or when using our services, or if you're involved in any criminal activity. It doesn't matter whether or not this is linked to banking with us. Far more revealing than banks' terms and conditions is who they appoint to key positions. HSBC, First Direct's parent company, is particularly interesting in its head of investigative reporting optimization is Hannah Graff, who described the role as working to prevent global financial crime. This seems strange, as his previous job was as an engineering manager and captain in the British Army. Not so strange, though, when you learn that he was awarded an MBE for work updating LGBTQ policy in the British Army, was Stonewall's Trans Model of the Year in 2019, and is a patron of Mermaids, the disgraced UK charity that promotes the medicalised transition of children. The article continues. I wrote about Hannah Graff and his spouse Jake and their celebrity role as pioneers of trans surrogacy on the 11th Hour blog previously. There's a link there for you to explore if you wish to. Their fame as a trans couple was enabled by a surrogate mother who provided them with 2 children, using eggs from Jake that had, before her sex change, been fertilized, and donated sperm and frozen. Hannah regrets that he never had his sperm frozen before his sex change, which deprived him of being genetically related to the children. He advises young men contemplating cross-sex hormones to learn from his mistake and make sure they freeze and store their sperm beforehand. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to urge you to go and read the article because there's much more there at the end. It will be very interesting for you to understand, and I want to be fair to those at the 11th Hour blog and make sure that you get eyes on their article. You have to say to yourself, when I was, talking to the folks at a meeting I had the other day, the women, how can anybody see this? Imagine coming to this for the first time and listening to that. It would drive you insane. You'd be like, oh yeah, you're all nuts. You're all tin hat nutters. You're all mad. That's why we teach people. Well, that's why we work together on the programme, to allow people to be able to explain things and tease things out of people using questioning and understand what the overall picture of this is, because it is far bigger than gender identity ideology. That's what we're seeing now. The connections, the interconnection, the ideology threaded through organisations. And we've got a Tory government that can't seem to wipe its own arse. There should be legislation ready within days to combat this. It's quite simple. You as a bank will not promote, utilise, or allow political ideologies or social corporate nonsense where you're supposed to be a good business to interfere with your business. You go back to doing business. If that requires an amendment to the Companies Act, so be it. They shouldn't be taking part in this. They should identify those that have caused it in their organisations, and they should fire them. That's the only way forward now, folks. And I'm afraid that the Tories seem to be the only ones that may come vaguely close to doing it. Labour certainly aren't. We're heading towards election time, and they're going to start coming out the gates now. We've had it with that some ridiculous articles already in The Guardian, but we'll see what comes next. From my point of view, if we don't pick the one party that seems it might do something, and pick the party that we know isn't going to do anything, I don't know what comes next for the generations that follow me. So, on that depressing note, off you pop, you lot. I'll see you later. Bye.